When I encounter some problems in the company, I think that I need to do something to make it better. Because if I quit, then those who come to the companies, they will still encounter the same problems. Yeah, and I think that's not healthy. Because there's a lot of people online will say that if you feel upset, then just quit. But I think that everyone have to do some efforts.
Welcome to the Connected podcast, coming to you from the heart of Taipei, in which we get personal on news and issues that connect us all in Taiwan and around the world. I'm Tomasz Koper.
And I'm Shieh. Speaking of around the world, we have with us in the studio Helen Lee.
Hello, I'm Helen.
And she is a unionized flight attendant working for one of Taiwan's 3 national carriers, EVA Air.
Recently, flight attendants have been in the news in Taiwan due to the tragic passing of a 34-year-old crew member who felt unwell during a flight but was afraid to take sick leave, was taken to a hospital after her final flight and passed away 16 days later.
So Helen, what went through your mind when you first heard of this tragic passing of Miss Sung?
At the very first time, I feel very shocked. And the second things come to my mind is like, I feel so sorry that we didn't do more to protect our crews because I'm in a union and actually we have chance and we have powers to fight for rights like they can take sick leave or they can just like protect themselves. But we didn't do so well that we let this happen.
Well, the media was reporting on, supposedly Miss Sun being unable to, not unable, because flight attendants are able to take sick leave, but she was afraid to take sick leave because of, again, supposed punitive measures like punishments that the company would give out for employees who take sick leave. Is that something that you've encountered?
In EVA Air, that if you take sick leave, you will face a lot of different kinds of penalties. Like the first is the score. If you take a leave in the normal days, like weekdays, then it will score like a -1. And if you take sick leave at the weekends, it will -2. And if you take leave in holidays, like New Year's or something, then we will -3. So you have to choose time when you're sick. And that's unreasonable. But after that, after the scores, then you will be unqualified for swapping your schedule or choosing your flight that you want to have a flight. That's a very serious problem for flight attendant because our schedule is very unstable. So it's hard for us to have a date with our families or friends because if I make a date with you, but maybe next day I just fly out to American or Europe, I cannot handle my schedule. So the only way that I can handle my schedule is to not to take a sick leave and choose the flight I want to fly, choose the day I want to take off.
And is this system something that is based on rules that the company has, or is this more an unofficial system that everyone knows about but is not on the books?
That's a rule.
That is a rule.
Yeah, everyone knows it. So we will try to push ourselves, just make ourselves on board to avoid to take a sick leave.
This incident kind of highlighted the risks or the challenges of your job, of what you do. What is the most stressful part of your job?
The stressful part, I think the first is a continuously long working times. Like if you fly to American or Europe, it's continuously maybe 12 hours or until maybe 18 hours. And the second is the rest facility on board. It's very simple. Sometimes we even rest just beside the passengers.
Right.
So I'm curious because you mostly take long haul flights. How do crew members deal with their stress? I imagine this job is not just mentally stressful, but also physically.
They just adjust the life rhythms. Like you will sleep before you go to work. Yeah, even it's not a sleeping time. You just force yourself to do it. Yeah, and just give up unnecessary schedules, even eating.
Wow.
What does that impact your social life?
Definitely. Yeah, because first, like I said, you have to schedule change a lot. So you have to call your friends oh, sorry, I cannot make it because I'm now going to American, just 1 second. And the second is very tired.
Well, I come from an aviator family. My dad was an airline pilot flying long haul flights. And so I know that stress is a massive part of the job, not only during flight, but also really anytime. When he would come home, the stress wouldn't magically disappear. So is EVA Air providing any kind of training, any kind of counseling that helps crew members, helps flight crews manage stress in any way?
I don't think so. They will just tell us that you have to deal with yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And before the flight, every flight, then we have a I am safe, like a announcement that you have to promise that I am safe to flight. Yeah. So if there's anything happen, that's your responsibility that you don't take care of yourself.
Seems like a way to shift responsibility away from the company.
Yeah, they will give you e-learnings.
Oh.
Yeah, you can.
So online courses.
Yeah, so you just read I have to sleep maybe continuously 8 to 10 hours before the schedule or something. Yeah, but it's just like a course. For example, I have 2 children and I have to take care of them before my flight.
Right.
Yeah, I cannot take sleep.
Right. Do you feel that EVA in general has a healthy work culture?
No. Yeah, I think the EVA working culture is really toxic. They have situations that everything went wrong, have to have someone to take responsibilities.
Right.
But sometimes the problem is not controlled. For example, if we have a flight delayed, then it might be because bad weather, or air traffic control, or something like a mechanics problems or something. But in EVA's report, it always comes to the frontline staff problems, like a flight attendant late to onboard, or the catering not ready yet, cleaning slowly, or the ground staff do something wrong. So when the problem pops up and everyone just push the responsibility away and they don't think about to solve the problems, even when we are sick, crew or ground staff, they won't think about how to give them better cares. They think about, if I lose this employees or these workers at this flight, I may have the delay if I call the ambulance or doctors here. I may a lack of one person to flying back and company will blame on me. So I don't want to take responsibility of this too.
The news that we've heard in November 2025, the tragic passing of Miss Sun, has that improved the situation internally for EVA Air?
Even when she passed away, the news coming out, and I heard some people in the company that they were discussing, no one forced her to come to work. And how do I know that she's so sick? And they were discussing like this. At that time, I feel very unbelievable. When someone passed away, when someone is sick, you're still thinking about that. That's not my business. I think that's the most toxic part of our working cultures.
Well, it doesn't sound like the greatest workplace. So why are you still a flight attendant with EVA Air?
Because I believe that if you feel bad in a job or in a relationship or everything in the world, then you have to fight and change it, not just live it. For example, if I get have a fight with my husband, then I want to improve our relationship, not just divorce, right? So when I encounter some problems in the company, I think that I need to do something to make it better. Because if I quit, then those who come to the companies, they will still encounter the same problems. Yeah, and I think that's not healthy. Because there's a lot of people online will say that if you feel upset, then just quit. But I think that everyone have to do some efforts.
Since you mentioned fighting for your profession, I think recently the image standards for flight crew has loosened. Can you talk a little bit about that? So previously the dress code was really strict. Have they loosened it with EVA Air?
Yes, I think so. But I think it's not enough yet. Before, like maybe 5 years before, then we have the nail style.
That detailed, huh?
Yes, company give us like a card that different colors and patterns that you only can do this kind of nail style. And also the hair, you have to dye the colors that company assigned. But you see, I have a natural gray hair. So maybe 5 years ago, one time company called me that you have to dye your hair to dark brown or black. But I say that because of health issues that I don't want to dye my hair. And the company just says that it doesn't look good. Yeah. For airlines, especially Taiwan's airlines, flight attendants' appearance is like a product that they can sell. So they asking us to make up, to wear the contact lenses, high heels, stocking. But actually these things have no help to our professional, even have a risk of safety.
Right.
Yeah, for the stocking, like if it's on fire, it will be very dangerous. Yeah, but we're still wearing it.
Yeah, I can't imagine wearing high heels during a turbulence.
Yes.
That must be harrowing.
Yeah. So maybe like 2 years ago, we start to fight the sexual equalities to like a national human rights commissions. Like we go to send a proposal to them. Yeah. And they suggest the EVA Air have to provide trousers for us. So now we can wear trousers, and now we can wear the flat shoes on board, and we don't have so many restrictions of hairs and nails. But yesterday, China Airline, they just come out the news that they can wear glasses on board. They don't need to tolerance like 12 or 16 hours like a contact lenses.
I haven't even thought of that. Yes, wearing them for so long is really going to irritate your eyes.
So previously you weren't allowed to wear glasses?
Yeah, not allowed.
Still not allowed on EVA Air?
Yes.
Okay, but
Yeah.
China Air,
Yes, they start from December 4th. One of my friends in China Airlines says they are discussing to wear like sports shoes on board.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm jealous. I'm really jealous.
Do you foresee EVA Air taking the same actions?
I think we will fight for it next, yeah, but I'm not sure because I think EVA is like a Japanese style companies that they are more conservative.
Speaking of that, and also of the sort of gender standards, the image standards that are being imposed on you, how good are airlines in Taiwan, just the entire industry, about finding equality between genders and the different roles that you see on board an aircraft?
In EVA Air, we don't have any male flight attendant before 2019, before the strike.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not even one. And that's because the original president, Zhang Rongfa, he felt like this job is only for female. So after strike, we start to have the male flight attendants, maybe the percentage, maybe 10% now. And we have a news like China Airline has a flight that full of all the flight attendants are male. And they fight for it also. Yeah, because in the past 30 years, they only allowed 2 male flight attendants per flight.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you want to swap in, cannot.
What an industry where a flight full of male flight attendants is a sign of gender progress.
Yeah.
What's the situation like in the workplace as far as, since there's no male flight crew before 2019, but after that, has there been any instances of sexual harassment that EVA Air has to deal with? Are there any stories like that?
Normally in airlines, the sexual harassment happens between passengers and flight attendant or the cockpit crew with flight attendant.
Right.
Oh, okay.
But recently we have 2 news. Like the first one is one of the custom officers, he get laid off because of talking to a flight attendant, then have a sexual harassment issues. Like he said, if you don't talking to me, and I will check your luggage and I will give you some punishment, something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he got a layoff, and one of the passengers got fined because taking pictures secretly on board. So I think maybe now we have better protections, like in sexual harassment issues.
What happens if there's like a really overt case of sexual harassment on board during a flight? How would you guys deal with it?
Normally, we will just swap the one who get sexual harassment workers to other working sections.
Mm-hmm.
We just divided her to the passengers. But actually, we cannot do anything on board because even we call the police, we have to waiting until land. And actually, I personally see that the passengers just arrested by the police, but they just tell them that you cannot do this, then just let him go.
Oh.
Because there's no laws or something to keep him in Taiwan if he is a foreigner.
Right.
So they just like give him a warning, like you are not allowed to do so, but you still have to go.
Do you think because of all of that, because of all this, how difficult and complex this process might be, is there a tendency to just kind of sweep these cases under the rug and just like, well, let's kind of ignore it. Let's move the passenger somewhere else, and we're not going to report it at all.
Yeah, because just like taking sick leave, we are afraid that company try to blame us, like your dealing procedure is not suitable. They will just like pick you up, like maybe you can do this, maybe you can do that. Why you don't do this? It's hard to find standard answers for certain situation because passengers are different. So
Right.
we have to adjust our dealing procedures during the flight. But company, they cannot understand. They just like you have to follow the standards. And if you don't, then you have something wrong.
Speaking of companies that don't understand what you guys are going through, COVID pandemic happened and there's a lot of layoffs during the time. And I know the union is still fighting for the issues of understaffing. Can you share what it was like back in COVID and what's happening now?
Actually, we don't have any layoff during the pandemic, only the foreign crews. Because like we have the Vietnamese crews and Japanese crew in the company, and their contract maybe like a year.
Mm-hmm.
So during the pandemic, they don't sign the contract with them, and after the pandemic, they call them back.
So there's no layoffs, but there is
Yes.
understaffing, right?
Yes, we just like they will give you like a no salary vacations.
Mhm.
Like I think EVA Air is like a company that they will do the minimum protection for their workers. They try to not break the law. So I think that when they are doing something, they were thinking about is that make a danger to the company. When the pandemic starts, the COVID starts, like maybe first 2 or 3 months, and no one knows that it will become so serious. At that time, when we asking for the mask, company even answer me that you won't kiss with passenger, you don't need it.
And that's a serious reply you got from upper management.
Yes.
It is a good time to mention that in their official press statement, EVA said that the health and well-being of their employees is of utmost importance. On that note, and maybe taking these kind of statements from companies with a grain of salt, how strong are labor unions or the EVA labor union? What kind of power does it actually have?
Actually, our union established as 2016, and that's because China Airline have a strike.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I working on board, and one passenger says that, "Oh, EVA Air don't have a strike, so your working conditions must be better than China Airlines." Yeah, and I feel very upset because we even don't have the union that can fight for us. So that's why 2016 we established our own unions. And the first 2 years, like we are just like knowing each other because EVA Air has no experience dealing with the union too during the past 30 years. So they sometimes will act very progressively. For example, they go to flight attendants' mailbox to take away our flyers. Yeah, they don't want us to like explain unions to the flight attendants. Yeah. But after that, sometimes they will act like, okay, we were listening to what you say. We're trying to make some progress. And we start to talking to negotiation in a meeting like for 2 years. But EVA have a very serious problem, and that's the most difficulties I faced during the union's negotiation. Like he's very good at dealing with the public relations and also like an image. So they seems like I'm willing to listening to you. I'm willing to talk, but actually in their deep mind, they just think that you workers, you just quiet go to work and you have no qualities to talk to me for anything. Even now, I think they still have this kind of thoughts that all the things I give you is because I want. You are not asking for anything. So that's why we have the strike on the 2019. And after strike, I think companies really mad at us. Yeah, so they choose to ignore our messages. They want to fight with us. They want to like argue with us. They just like keep silence. Just like this time, when the tragedy happens, the journalists, the government's officers call to EVA Airs, and they just say that they have no comments. During this time.
So you are part of EVA Air Union, and are you also part of the Taiwan Flight Attendants Union?
Yes.
Do they work closely together, or are they fighting for different policies?
Actually, we are really close, and some of our members are the same. Yeah, but in EVA Union, we still have ground staff and pilots and some office workers.
What kind of changes are you hoping to see in the airline industry in Taiwan, specifically for flight attendants, but also in general for everyone?
I don't want to change specific laws or like rules in this industry. I just want them to think about that all the workers are humans. We are not machines. We cannot like turn on and turn off. Yeah, and just keep working when you're sick, when you feel like upset or something. But if really there is a laws that I can change, I would like to say that if they can take consider of the like a social responsibility of the company, then I think that would be better to push them to change.
So Helen, why have you decided to speak so openly about what the situation is like at EVA Air?
First of all, because of the supportive of the public. Yeah, because during the strike, then a lot of people like just have a bad comments of us. But I think that's because the public don't understand our industries. Like they don't know what we are really facing. So I'm appreciative that I have the opportunities to talking about the situations that we faced to the public and let them to understand what we are struggle for and what we are fighting for.
But aren't you concerned about any backlash that you might be getting?
At the first year of the union, I do think about it. Yeah, but I joined EVA Air at 2011. And so when the union established, I only stayed in the company 5 years. And I just think about that. I want to keep working at this company. Maybe I still have 20 years or 30 years. I wish it could be better that I can stay because I like the sky. I like flying. Yeah, I wish that this company can be better to keep going for 20, 30 years, even longer. And I have a daughter. And sometimes like she will say, I want to be a flight attendant in the future. Then I would think about that. Oh, so maybe 20 years later, if the industry culture is still like this, am I willing to let my daughters to work here? And I want to change the whole company and even the whole industries to a better place that I can like happily welcome my daughters to work with me.
Well, we will be reaching out to EVA Air and asking them to comment and respond on a lot of the things that we said here today, and their response will follow this part.
In response to our question on penalising employees who take sick leave, EVA Air said it has adjusted its cabin crew leave policies effective November 1st, 2025. In addition, in response to revisions to the Ministry of Labour's regulations on employee leave, the company further adjusted relevant policies effective January 1st, 2026. It added that going forward, EVA Air will continue to listen to feedback from cabin crew with the aim of balancing flight stability and employee well-being and fostering a healthier, more balanced working environment. On providing mental health support, the company said it places great importance on the physical and mental well-being of its employees. Through its employee assistance program, the company offers services including medical care, psychological counselling, and legal consultation. Employees may apply for these services via email or through designated service channels. And finally, responding to claims of interference with union activities, EVA Air said that it respects union autonomy and does not interfere with union operations or related activities.
Thank you so much, Helen, for being here with us today and sharing your experience of being a flight attendant and your passion for the sky, as you say. It's really great talking to you.
Thank you. I'm appreciated to have the chance to share this too.
Thank you, Helen.
What are the working conditions for flight attendants like where you live? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're down there, also do check out our main show, Connected on Taiwan Plus.
You can find it on our YouTube channel and the Taiwan Plus website.
I'm Tomasz Koper.
And I'm Shieh. We'll see you next time.